what is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review an EP by Bun B. Basically this product is called Bun B Day and it came out in the summer of 2019. So the thing about this particular product is there's a number of Bun B products that don't have like an official kind of cataloging as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is one that surprisingly popped up as far as those pitches kind of happen. Now, this particular product did at least have a single, so this is not the secret one that I'm talking about here, but in terms of some of Bun B's mixtapes, there's a number of mixtapes that he particularly dropped. Like there's some ones from 2008 that Wikipedia doesn't list in pitches like that, so there are some ones in terms of like the full catalog. That's kind of why there's been a lull with like Bun B updates, is this because I'm trying to figure out some ones that I'm going to get to as far as those pitches going to happen in terms. The thing with Bun B is just the fact that he does have like some over 30 song mixtapes that pretty much are just like freestyles like Lil Wayne style and pitches like that, but I want to review some ones that might actually have some original material on there, or at least have the captivation of like the last particular Bun B project I reviewed, which was Gangsta Girls The Legends with Middle Finger. So it's just some pitches behind that as far as that particular one goes. I'm just going to have to sift through some of these Bun B type projects, but I definitely wanted to get to like a quick and easy one type here, just within the pitch of just the in-between type moments of trying to get sleep as far as those pitches going to happen. But I look after just within the tone, I'd have to say there's some excellent type fare to kind of have this particular one. This is some excellent type fare to kind of have this particular one. Now the thing about it is this is like the next Bun B project that he dropped before really getting to like the Trill Static projects that would, this is Bun B Day was kind of like an interim type project just in between like the stuff, as Bun B after like Return to the Trill from 2018 started to shift his styles up as far as those pitch kind of happen. It's not to say full blown shift his styles, but just kind of the pitch that he just did not drop as many like routine kind of solo, he just didn't drop as many routine kind of solo albums within that fair, and mainly the main stuff that's been happening within the past good while is more collaboration projects like the Trill Statics and like a project he did Mo Trill with Corey Mo and some of those type of folks. And he also did like Yokozuna Trill, which came out in 2024, some pitches like that. So it's just some interesting type fair sort of stuff that Bun B's been on in recent times. Makes me question. Now the only reason why I say question is just because the concept that some folks in like the more recent times has just been here and there with like the affability. Like I feel like the thing about the 2020s decade is it's a very polarizing decade in terms of the reception. Some folks some folks hate folks' newer stuff. Some folks really love it just within the pitch. But a lot of times the reasons why it's polarizing is just because it's differential from the way that some of these folks came up in like the 2000s and 90s, and the 2000s and 90s and 2010s even in some cases as far as those pitches can happen. But this is another stock project here. I did not notice that change in terms of like a bad format. I will say that it does seem different from like Trill and Trill OG even, and Trill OG the epilogue, some of those type fairs of what I reviewed from Bun B from like the early 2010s and 2000s, but it is some good type fares. It's a different type pitch. This is very vehicle centric in terms of the songs that really knock on here. I just would have to say I like the tone behind this project, but the briefness behind it does not really depict much of being able to have within the tone of really being able to dissect it just within the tone, because just mainly because of the tone that if you don't like even one or two songs, it really slashes the score. And that's kind of what happens here. I wound up recommending 3.5 out of 5, so just within the pitch, that's really, you know, roughly over 60% of the product. I am going to give this like a relatively solid enough type score, but in terms of dislike, I mean, it just depends. I mean, no, just for a 5-song EP for the highly favorability, it should be simple enough to knock out 5 songs just within those pitches. But the thing about it is, on this particular product, is there is kind of a homely and personal type song on here that detracts from it just because it's just not as much of like a fun type listen. But we'll get to that in terms of that particular tone. So just kind of being able to say and stuff, like the basic pitch behind this EP is just the fact that out of the 5 songs on this EP, I wound up recommending, like I was saying, 3.5 out of 5. So the only song I don't recommend in any fashion is just the song I Tried. And the Almost song, which is the halfway song I'm kind of on the fence about, is the song I Am. So within the pitch behind it, I'll just go ahead and say that this EP is going to get a 7.75 out of 10 as far as this pitch is going to happen. It's about the appropriate score to kind of say. If it had been 4 out of 5, it probably would have gotten like an 8.75, maybe damn near a 9, something like that. But it's just within the pitch, with there only being 5 songs, 3.5 out of 5, that's about the proximity behind it. But thing as to why I didn't recommend the song I Try is, like I was saying, this is just kind of a personal type one that just didn't nail it that well. There are some uptown type songs on here that just kind of have like that relative slummish type funk about it, just typical of Bun B, with like that Texas kind of uptown flavor just within the pitch. Just kind of takes it back to like the 2 Trill type days on some of the softer type moments on there. Typical UGK, which is just basic kind of cruise arounds or just city stepping within a sense, but it just didn't really have much flair. It just felt a little bit more starry eyed and just kind of more a song with more humility than like the particular tone of what was probably necessary, just real affable. I'd have to say within that pitch, that was just one I didn't really. That was one I just didn't have as much compatibility with. I'd have to say within that tone. And then that's the same thing within a relative sort with I Am, but I just feel like the song I Am just pulls it off a little bit better. This is the almost song to be able to say that, but I look after I Am as basically to describe this one. This is like a lazy kind of summer evening kind of malaise here, just a typical kind of uptown fashion. I'd have to say about this particular song, like so many like this routine kind of Bun B flavor I would have to say within that pitch, but it's like definitely like a city hop kind of routine. There's definitely some typical kind of uptown fashion city hop to kind of get within that tone. It's like routine but dredgy kind of outing tracks to kind of have within that tone. So it's just kind of the concept, just the basic context of just being able to say the heading out and about just within the tone of like a standard day, standard Monday, Tuesday, some of that type fare in like a more slumish type sense, ghetto type sense within the pitch. Not to say ghetto in like a derogatory way, but just within the concept of being able to say within that tone of just uptown type flavoring and just like even Bun B says on the song that you could get shot in this song just buying a Swisher or something like that within that tone. Just simple kind of gas station errands, fill up your tank with like 10 or 15 bucks in gas, some of those type tones, pick up like some Burger King, some of those type pitches, standard fare, get like a lighter or two, some pitches like that, get like a couple bottles of Jack Daniels, something like that, just simple kind of outing tracks within the pitch. Relatively kind of almost spry. I mean, it's not necessarily pep. It's just I would say it has some pep about it, but it's just kind of within a lazy kind of grizzled sense. I'd have to say within the tone, just another stock day in the life, just within the tone. Just has that typical kind of usual antics type candor about it within the tone behind it. I do like this particular song within that aspect. But I do like this song within that aspect, but it's just kind of within the tone that it's just not an immediate kind of choice just because of the relative. It's just not an immediate pick because of the relative kind of plainness factor about it. I mean, it's a typical kind of city hop type fare to kind of get if you just need some simple kind of gas station outing kind of trek type moments to kind of have. It's just within the pitch that it's not really pizzazzful. I mean, it has a concept. Maybe you have like a swisher or two in your system, something like that, enough to kind of socialize and still drive around as far as those pitches kind of have. But it's just within the tone. It's just a basic and plain type song within the tone. Just really vanilla kind of Texas oriented type. Almost trap music with this circa 2019, I'd say within the tone. It's an almost song. But yeah, so now talk about the songs on here that I do recommend. So basically there was a single off this product, which is interesting type fare because I don't remember this coming out back around the time. I was kind of messing with Bun B in 2019, but I just didn't full blown as much pay attention. I guess I just didn't catch it as much like the full blown aspect as far as those pitches gonna happen. I guess in more senses I was kind of messing with more underground rap like Deuce and Cut Calhoun and Tech Nine and some of those type folks just within the fair and Broken Side, some of those type folks. But I look after In My Trunk was the single. It's definitely like some parking lot pimping kind of music I'd had to say here. Just heavy thump and cruise around, enjoy to kind of get within that tone. There's definitely like some after hours kind of bass funk to have within that pitch, just to be able to say. So all three of the songs I recommend are the ones that have this vehicle knock, and this is what I was talking about here. It's like a new edge kind of flavor, like some typical kind of fashions for Bun B to kind of get towards some of this type of stuff. This really puts a pretty centered biz on like the concept of just being able to have like that standard kind of disc where you're going to hear it from several blocks away. Just the concept of like heavy bass, heavy thump, lots of jump in like the sound system, some of that type of just within the aspect behind this. In My Trunk is just as simple. It's really a skeletal type production apart from like the bass on the song. Mainly, I mean, I don't even feel like this is much of like a nightclub song as much as it is just like some vehicle thump that you're going to hear from quite a ways away, I'd have to say. It's just within the tone. Just really puts emphasis on the concept of like some vehicle centric stuff, but it does in like a stylish way. It just pulls off the appeal because it is a dope song kind of get. Definite song to get turned to. I mean, obviously if you're driving, not the aspect of being held tore up, but just within the pitch of just having the concept of just having some good type thumb to kind of have feeling good as far as this pitch can happen. Just depending if you got more folks like that. It Ain't Easy Being Trill's another nice one. Now this is a little bit more of like this one's not quite. It Ain't Easy Being Trill's not quite as much a parking lot pimping, but it is that same sort of knock. It's kind of an in between. I like the song I Am, just a little bit more night centric, kind of uptown type tune to kind of get, but just with a lot of bass thump on here. It's like a gnarled kind of uptown vehicle knock to kind of get out this song. The song is definitely like some vintage kind of UGK with like a sleek evening flavor, I'd have to say about this song, and it rumbles pretty damn well. So it's just kind of within the pitch of being able to say it's just kind of a good companion piece to In My Trunk within the pitch behind it, but just within the tone of being able to say that it's just a little bit more uptown flavor. It has like some of that Texas twang about it. Just one of those type songs you'd hear from Bun B on like a more album cut type fashion, a disc standard disc ghetto living, just talking about the concept of yeah, this is my way of life, some of that type fare standard outs and disc Bill Payne standard fare like that, just getting routine stuff taken care of, standard day in the life within that pitch. Very similar to I Am, just with like some vehicle thump and a little bit more social pizzazz about it. I had to say so that's just a good concept behind that. And then Get the Bird is a nice one as well. Now this one kind of has some of that bass thump on there, but it's also kind of like a throwback song. It's like a throwback to like mid 2000s kind of mixtape soul. The song is like a throwback to like mid 2000s kind of mixtape soul here, just a Don Cannon DJ drama type production as far as those pitches going to happen. Just some house cleaning and local errands type music to kind of get within that tone, just with like a new thump kind of flavor. So it's just kind of a pitch taking like a 2006 mixtape cut from like a Gangsty Grills mixtape, something like that, and then just having the tone of just having it have like the bass thump of like a song like In My Trunk, like having it have like the bass thump of like a song like In My Trunk, something of that type fare. So it's basically soulful. There's a cat named TY on this particular song, and that's the thing about this particular product is Bun B has some guests on here within these pitches. I don't know these folks as full blown, but it seems like he found some up and coming type cats. I do at least know Young Dolph. RIP to him within those pitches, but it's just within the tongue, snagging a verse from him as far as that kind of goes on the single. Pretty excellent type fare. Maxo Cream is on that song as well. But I just look after within the pitch behind it. So Get the Bird is just, yeah, throwback to like the Jeezy days, Lil Wayne days, folks like that, some of those type pitches, Joel Santana, Rick Ross, some of those type folks that would do those vintage kind of Don Cannon DJ drama type house cleaning, just errands type fare as far as those pitches can happen. Just standard, just out and about, just within the pitch behind it, but good flavor. And so that's the concept behind this particular EP here, snappy and just within the aspect of just having some real good feral bite within a relative pitch. I mean, it's pretty balanced within the pitch behind it. It's just kind of the concept that I don't know if it would have needed like at least one more song to have had it kind of be fleshed out a little bit more, but I kind of look after it. Me basically recommending over 60% of the project. I kind of think it probably needed at least one more song for like the full-blown knockout. I feel like this is worthwhile to a purchase, but in terms of like the full-blown KO type songs, I feel like this particular product does have some of these on here, but it's just such a relatively, I don't want to say it's unsavory, but it's just within the pitch that it just will kind of leave you a little bit more hungry than it probably should. Now EPs are supposed to do that within that pitch, but I still feel like maybe it's like a song shy of like a true full-blown knockout. If there had been 6 songs and I had recommended 4.5 out of 6, I probably would have said that would have been a little bit more. If there had been 6 songs and I had recommended, 4.5 out of 6, I probably would have said that would have bolstered this particular product just that much further. I would have said within the tone, it would have been a little bit more convincing. Just another song like In My Trunk, or even just like a nightclub song or a smoking song, some of those type pitches, just something. I like the new era of like the vehicle thump on here that puts emphasis on like some car centric type stuff. I just look after it, probably I just question what some other styles Bun B would add around this particular time that could have given it like some further edge within the tone behind it, especially circa 2019 when he was kind of not necessarily a relic, but just not commonly in folks' minds as much. I'd say it would have been an interesting type tone. But yeah, this EP gets a 7.75. The social score, that's kind of tricky, but I think I'll give the social score like an 8.25 out of 10 because I feel like it does deliver upon it. Most of these songs on here have some degree of thump about them. I feel like In My Trunk is definitely a great rumbler for some social fares. I feel like Get the Bird is pretty good at that. The follow-up songs that are similar to that, Get the Bird and It Ain't Easy Being Trill, are pretty good within that relative aspect. And I do feel like I Am has some relative kind of city hop type thump just to have some local errands with some pals as far as those pitch can happen. Just smoke a couple swishers behind a building, something like that, get some Taco Bell, some of that type fare, I'd have to say. But so it is relatively, it's mostly kind of enjoyable. It's just within the pitch, it's just a very snappy type product that probably could have used at least one more song within the pitch behind it. But that's the fare behind it. So in terms of the future, like I said, Bun B has been dropping a number of projects. He has plenty of these. He has plenty of side projects that have been kind of happening, collab type albums, pitches like that. He has not dropped a solo album since 2018 with Return of the Trill. That's the only Bun B album I have left to get to in terms of like his standard solo appeal. There's obviously the UGK albums on top of that I'd have to get to at some stage, which is going to be pretty awesome to kind of get to some of those pitches. There are like tons of mixtapes. I'm just trying to figure out which one I want to do. I'm definitely going to review like his 2010 mixtape, No Mixtape, because I do remember that one in pieces. And I also want to say there's like a mixtape from 2008. Now that one is one of the ones I feel like has over 30 songs or some pitches like that, but there's definitely some ones in there I want to get to within those tones, so I'm just going to have to dissect some of these and kind of figure it out. But yeah, this is pretty balanced type project here, just within the aspect. Definitely has some new flavors about it that work pretty damn well, and it's just an engaging listen.